Hey, it's the fuel guy here with Performance Fuel Specialist, and I am here with our friend and one of our clients with Bromac Reliability out of Colorado and Wyoming, who specializes in fuel polishing. And we are going to have a conversation here today about a number of different things. This is Tate McDaniels, and it's great to have you here, Tate.
Yeah, thank you, Guy. Always a pleasure to spend some time and gain some knowledge, have some good conversation with you.
Yes, and we did do that here just recently. Came down to Colorado, had a good visit. I am looking forward to getting back, spending some time with you. So, one of the things that we talk about with our motto is changing the way you treat your fuel. And of course, it's a play on words because what we're trying to do is change the way you think about your fuel. And it is an industry that is constantly changing your fuel system, the EPA regulations, the fuel itself. And there's a couple different ways to really make bank on fuel savings costs and equipment costs. Education's a big part of that. And sometimes the way we look at things are not actually reality. Or sometimes we need to look at things a little differently. And that's one of the things I wanted to visit with you about today was
Yeah,
this chart you came up with, which was brilliant, and I just loved it. And it made so much sense, but I never really thought about it until I saw it. And would you like to share with us what exactly you were trying to do here, and we can share the
yeah,
chart?
yeah. Let me pull it up here real quick.
All right, Tate. So we got her up, and you want to go through and explain kind of what you've done here.
Yeah. So what I've done is just kind of show what the effect of reducing your maintenance costs in your business has on your overall bottom line take home profit. And so everybody wants to make more money at the end of the day, and that's what we're all here trying to do. So our baseline scenario, we're doing business. We're going to keep it simple. We've got $100 in sales, right? That's 100% of our sales, the business that we're doing. Our maintenance costs come out of that, and they're $20, and that's 20% of your sales. Then we have material, labor, equipment, all the expenses that it takes to run your business. Those are tough things to drive down because those are just the hard cost of doing business. You got to pay those things. So at the end of the day, we spent $95 to do business, and we were able to keep five as our profit margin. So what we're wanting to do is fatten up that profit margin. That's the goal in business. So approach A, what we did is 10% maintenance reduction cost. So we took that maintenance cost from $20 and we only spent $18. And there's a lot of ways to do this by being proactive and using the right products. And I think we have a really powerful system that helps you drive down maintenance costs. Maybe we have the best leverage of about any um, quick maintenance change you can do. It's not going to take any extra work from your guys. It's not going to take a bunch of training and changing how you do all kinds of things. We come in as a full service and we can have you operating more efficiently tomorrow, by using these products in this system. And so like I said, we've driven our maintenance costs down by 10% through making these smart decisions. Our material labor stayed the same. So that had the effect on our bottom line that we keep that extra $2 as profit. And so the other approach, if you wanted to get to the same bottom line at $7 in profit rather than where we started at five, you could drive up your sales by 40%. If you haven't gotten any more efficient, if you haven't gotten any better doing business, if you're still spending 20% on maintenance and 75% on your hard costs, then your margin is still going to be only 5% at the end of the day, and that'll be $7. So it makes it pretty clear that if we can get smarter about doing business and save money in our maintenance programs in any other way you can, if you can drive down those costs, you're going to keep more of that money. It's going to be a lot easier to do than driving sales 40% up, because that's just all of your costs go up. When you do more business, you spend more money. If we're not getting more efficient, we're not recouping that money.
That's just such a great chart, and it just makes real simple sense. Save 10% on your maintenance and make the same amount as increasing your sales by 40%. Who doesn't want to increase their sales 40%? But I would much rather gain the 7 with just a simple 20% change, and we'll work on the 40% as time goes on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the goal is always to grow, but why not get more efficient as we grow and keep more of that money? Then you can get the best of both worlds on that chart.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were talking about customers and the number of people that think number one, fuel, for instance, which is where we're at, it's about 60 cents a gallon more. They think it's premium, right?
Yeah,
They think I'm going to buy the premium. Well, it's not. It has less power. It has less lubricity. It is not a premium fuel. You only want number one when you absolutely need it. And a lot of people will run, I think you've experienced the same, they'll run a 50-50 blend, which is very expensive, especially most of the winter.
yes,
You don't need to blend at all and
right.
spend 30 cents a gallon to get that 50-50 blend. Whereas they can use like our Arctic Extreme, say it costs them, depending on quantity, say it's costing them a nickel a
Yeah,
gallon treated in bulk. Well, by the time they're done with that, they're saving 25 cents. And they've got a 50-50 blend, or they've got a number two fuel that will outperform a 50-50 blend by 10 full degrees as far as cold weather operation. So if we can keep you
yeah.
running 15 below safely with straight number two, why would anybody want to run a blend all winter long if you don't need it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you get a whole lot of other benefits out of running, a number two fuel rather than a blend. The lubricity, the energy content, the efficiency of the burn, and all those things. It makes it much better product to be able
Yeah.
to run, and we can do that for most of the winter, especially in this climate in Colorado. We have our cold snaps, and they can be brutal, but they don't last super long, and most of the winter we're going to bounce back 30 degrees, 30, 40 degrees within a week. So then you've got all that 50-50 in your tank and that number one fuel that's tearing up your
Yeah.
equipment when you could treat with this, have better quality fuel, and have better maintenance.
Yeah. Well, and your most expensive component in your vehicle is the fuel system. We've discussed in the past. Two-thirds the cost of your new engines are the fuel system components. And the most expensive thing you're buying with most businesses is the fuel when you're in a transporting issue. And so the fuel is extremely expensive to keep everything running. So it makes it a lot easier to save a little money easily on those two items, especially. So,
Yeah.
and then one of the things that I love about your system is the fuel polishing and some of the stuff you have on your Facebook and your website, the before and after the fuel polishing
Mhm.
is really, really remarkable. And I don't think people think about the the effect that something like that can have, or even what is fuel polishing. Why don't you explain that?
Yeah. So as part of our system, in our partnership with Guy and Performance Fuel Specialist is kind of a whole system to take control of your fuel. That's something I've heard guys say that I think is a great piece of advice if you're operating any equipment, but especially the fleet guys that we have been working with lately. Um, what we do is, like Guy said, a fuel polishing system where I have a polishing unit that'll go onto your bulk tank. It pulls from one end of the tank and it takes it out, cleans it up, takes out water, takes out any solid particulates, all the way down to 1 micron. And that's going to be a lot better cleaning than you're ever going to get on a full flow filter on an onboard system because we slow it down. We only pump 10 gallons a minute. We pull out all the water and we return it to the opposite end of the tank. So we get kind of a cross draft. And then we just continue to clean. That thing sits there and runs 24/7 all the time. And your fuel gets extremely clean with this system. And one of the big benefits of it is that we paired it up with an inductor tank. And the inductor tank allows our customers to pour their additive straight into the tank, the inductor, and then open a valve on the bottom, and it'll pull that additive through the filter system and mix it into your bulk tank. And then it agitates, mixes, and cleans all at the same time. And then you have a perfect ratio of additive to fuel. Because we give you a little chart that when you get in a load of fuel, whatever, you can look up if it was a 7,000 gallon transport or 9,000. Our chart tells you exactly how much to add. So you're getting the right ratio every time you treat your fuel, rather than depending on the individual truck drivers and operators to add the fuel to the tank, get it right, dispose of the bottle, make sure they take some out with them in the morning. You're having to manage a big system there that with our system, you don't even have to think about it. One guy can go out, add the additive to the bulk tank, and then all of your equipment is going to get the best fuel quality possible.
Yeah, that's terrific, and it's just a great way to do it and making it simple. One things we've always tried at by keeping our products concentrated in a commercial version, whether it's for retail or the bulk industry, is to make it easy to add. And so you get a bulk truck in, and I know we've talked about probably the best way to treat a bulk truck if you don't have a system like yours, just to put it in the top of the truck before you offload. Usually it's a bucket and a half, depending on the product. And so it's really easy to add, and it mixes uh, really easily itself. But the fuel polishing is really an amazing. And so your website, Bromac Reliability, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
you can see that. You can find him on our retail outlet side. You can find him in Colorado there if you look him up. And so that
Yeah,
makes it easy there. One of the things we talked about, I know recently, was about not only having a fuel treatment, an exhaust treatment, right? So it's an exhaust treatment. How is it an exhaust treatment? Partly because we're not only cleaning the fuel system, the injectors, we're keeping everything clean, lubricated all the time, but that keeps your exhaust filters, your DPF units clean, all of your sensors clean. So in actuality, a good fuel additive is also a good exhaust treatment.
yeah. When you have a clean fuel system and you have a clean combustion chamber, you're going to get better quality combustion, and that's just going to affect everything within an engine. All the way from the oil to the exhaust. The fuel system, everything. If you've got a good clean system that's burning efficiently as it should, then you're gonna see better life out of your DPFs. You're gonna see a longer time between regen cycles. I was doing a little homework on the cost of regen cycles, and man, it's a very expensive thing. It can happen as often as about 300 miles, depending on conditions. If you're doing a lot of idling or a lot of low load, or if your fuel system's in bad shape, if it's got some internal deposits and things like that that are causing it to be less efficient, then you're going to end up stacking all that stuff in your DPF, and you're going to have to regen more often. So if you've got a dirty system that's not doing great, and you're in a tough service, and you're regenning every 300 miles, well, you're burning a gallon to a gallon and a half per regen, so every 300 miles. So that's just destroying your fuel mileage and your fuel efficiency. You're pumping all that fuel right into the exhaust, and you're getting no value back out of it. You're all you're doing is just burning it. And so yeah, keeping this system clean, we can really stretch out the regen interval, so that maybe instead of doing them at 300, we're doing them at 450 or 600. We see the more you clean up the system, the longer you're going to be able to go between. That's one thing that the fuel polishing, we've seen really good results with. A DPF filter actually filters an incredibly fine particle out. That's how it's able to catch smoke, really. It filters down to a zero point 0.2 micron particle size. So it's a submicronic filter. That's why they're so expensive. Difficult to build, and very difficult to keep clean, obviously. And if, I had a fuel sample out of a bulk tank not too long ago, and it was the ISO code. ISO codes can be confusing, but it was about a 2118, which is it's on the dirty side, but it's not, unfortunately, the abnormal side. A lot of times I'll pull samples and get analysis done, and they end up being about that level of cleanliness. Well, in 1 milliliter, which is about a thimble of diesel fuel, there was almost 15,000 particles that are 4 microns in diameter. By the time we were done polishing, we were all the way down to about, I think we were under 100 microns, or 100 particles that were 4 microns in diameter. So those particles, a lot of those are small enough that they're slipping through filtration. I explain it as to my customers as death by 1,000 cuts. They're extremely small, but they're in there, and they're abrasive, and they're causing damage. They're super, super small, but they cause damage over time, and they embed the last place in the line that they can get caught is the finest filter, which is unfortunate to have that at the very end of the line, but
Yeah.
that's how it works. And so, yeah, those particles end up getting caught in there, and they're not good for anything on the way through your system either. So when we remove those, we extend the life of your fuel system. We extend the life of your filters. Our customers have really good luck with cold weather operation because their filters are so clean going into cold weather that they don't clog as easily when the waxes start to form in the fuel. They're they cruise through because they've got good quality filters. And
And I
so
always tell my customers, if we keep it clean, if we keep the water out, if the fuel system is at 100% capacity, it's going to start better, it's going to run better. And the only problem I'm worried about when it gets extremely cold is the gel, right? I'm not
yeah,
worried about anything else. We've already taken care of that. So now all we've got is one particular issue that we're targeting. We've already targeted with the anti-gel, but that's
yep,
our concern at that time. And so, this deposit, these particulates, we've discussed in the past how a 150 micron opening in your injector nozzle with just a 5 micron, which is again invisible to the human eye, right? Bacteria, 5 micron or less, causes a 12% loss of efficiency in the testing we had done. Well, that's a huge loss of efficiency and
yeah,
performance. And of course, any of that doesn't burn well, it carbons up, it makes everything dirty, but it also puts soot in your engine oil or what they call fuel dilution, which is the diesel fuel, unburned diesel fuel. And so you got yourself a really good oil and a good filter, but now we're filling that with soot and with oil or fuel. And so you don't have a good fuel or a good oil anymore. And so we're not only a exhaust treatment and a fuel treatment, we're really almost an oil treatment at the same time, just by keeping that oil
yeah,
clean all the
yeah.
time, helping keep it cleaner longer.
Yeah, yeah. Where that all started was with poor fuel quality, and clogging up your fuel system, and then it becomes inefficient. Like you said, it's a real snowball effect that
Yeah,
that really just takes down, man, the rest of your engine from, like you said, your oil quality all the way out your EGR system, pulling
yeah.
back in a poorly combusted fuel mixture. That's going right back into your intake, and then it's plugging up your DPFs as well. And all of these systems are very expensive to maintain. And so anything you can do up front to prevent the breakdown of them over the long term is going to pay you back huge dividends in the long run. That's how we get to that 10% maintenance cost reduction, is by doing these things proactively up front and preventing all of the repairs, the downtime, all of those things, that will take a toll on your bottom line over the long run.
Well, and I think one of the things we need to be concerned about is one of the changes in these new rail systems they've got is a lot of hot fuel return, where the pressure is so incredibly high that the fuel increases in temperature, and they have to constantly bypass. So you're constantly taking fuel, superheating it, and pumping it back into the tank, which is causing your fuel to oxidize and age. It also causes asphalting, what they call asphalting, which is a black sooty buildup in your tank, or a black sludgy buildup, I should say, in your tank.
Yeah,
Also creates condensation in your tank itself. It also creates poor combustion because then it increases the temperature of the whole tank. But anybody who's been in the industry or been in the racing industry knows cold fuel burns more efficiently than warm
absolutely.
fuel. That's why they use a cool can. They want that fuel as cold as they can. And so everything is compounded. And you see that with the EGR systems that build up the injectors, everything we've talked about, the DPF units. It's just a big circle of death, is what I've called it. It really affects everything overall. And so the additive itself has an antioxidant to stop the fuel from aging, which means it's going to burn more efficiently when it does burn. And so there's just a lot of key components, and none of these are miracles. These are not some unbelievable chemistry that this mad scientist has came up with. It's just good chemistry packaged sensibly and good filtration, which makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it takes. That's what I kind of like to talk to my customers is just like you mentioned, clean, cool, dry. Those are the things we got to focus on with our fuel, with any lubricant really.
Yeah.
And when you do those things, I think a lot of operators believe that this is just the cost of doing business. Well, DPFs clog up. Well, you know, oil breaks down and all these things. And there's really some great preventative maintenance tools we have out there. And I think that bang for your buck, this has got to be the best thing you can do if you're running a fleet because you can control that fuel quality, you can prevent these, and you can run your equipment longer and more efficiently the whole time. And it's so little work that goes into it. I do everything for my customers. The only thing they're doing really at the end of the day is dumping the additive in the tank and opening the valve on the bottom of it. So it doesn't require any training. It doesn't require any special skills. You don't have having good mechanics is awesome. Those guys are hard to come across. They're expensive, and that's going to be a good thing for your business. But as far as something you can do with very little input and very high output, I think we're about the best thing you can do, for a fleet of equipment.
Yeah,
Makes a big
taking
difference.
control of your fuel. Taking control of your fuel. I push that all the time. And part of that is the communication aspect with those mechanics. When they notice a problem, when they notice a soot level or something like that, and I've heard many times where they tell the upper echelon who doesn't even give it a thought and nothing's ever
Yeah,
done about it. And so it's so important to communicate and talk about these things. And because it's such an expensive part of your business, even if you're not trying to make a profit, say you're a government agency or a busing,
right.
it's not money directly in your pocket. It is money directly back into your budget and into the taxpayer's pocket at the same time. So it's
Yeah,
beneficial no matter what, no matter what. So
absolutely. Yeah, if you're a bus driver and you get stranded one time, you're not going to have a very good experience. You're going to just because it's not making anybody a bunch of money or whatever business, that it doesn't take
yeah,
away from how important it is. You got to be reliable. Or
yeah,
if you're somebody on public transportation and you get held up on a gelled up bus or a broke down bus, you're not going to forget that. You're not going to, like you say, you're not going to blame the refinery who made the fuel. You're not going to blame whoever
yeah,
they put it from. You're going to blame the guy who was driving the bus or the guy who owned the bus you were on.
yeah.
It's
That's who's going to
that's
make the paper, right? The
that's
bus is going to
there you
make the front page of the paper, especially if you got
go.
kids on it, for
Yeah,
that. So just taking care of your fuel system each and every time. It's not a miracle. And people say, well, I don't use additives. I don't believe in additives. It's like, well, roughly what about 50% of your quart of motor oil is additive based,
yeah,
right? Your fuel
yeah,
comes from a refinery with additives, but
yeah,
enough additives to meet the minimum specification to use the pipeline. Everybody
yeah,
wants to make the minimum. Nobody's trying to make anything better than the competition because the industry, the way it goes, everybody's sharing fuel, swapping fuel, using the pipeline, and it's not a pure system where we make it and we're the only ones selling it. It doesn't work like that at all.
no, no,
So
yeah. So whether you believe in additives or not, you are depending on them.
you're depending on it. It's just the way it is, right?
Yeah, that chemistry keeps all this equipment going. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a guy tell me just the other day. I asked him if he ran any kind of anti-gel or any kind of additive, and he looked at me, and he's been trucking a long time. Definitely knows what he's doing. And he's like, "Well, I don't run additives because they don't work." And I said, "Well, I've heard that opinion a lot." And I said, "I think there is some snake oil out there that gives the rest of the industry a bad name."
Yeah.
But I told him, I shared with him the results that I've been getting from one of his competitors, and I said we've treated 1.4 million gallons of fuel for these guys, and we've been running with them for 2 winters, and they haven't gelled a single truck in that time. And I said, can you guys say the same? And he said, well, no, absolutely not. And so I asked him where he got his fuel, and he buys it from the same distributor that my other customer does. So they're getting the same fuel, but they're not treating it the same once they have it. One customer's taking control of his fuel, and the other guy that isn't our customer yet, he hasn't taken control of his. So he's seeing the difference. And it made him think for a minute. He's like, he was kind of surprised to hear that. So hopefully he believed me, and we'll get
Yeah.
another shot with him.
Well, and everybody wants, or not everybody, but a lot of people sell that miracle in a bottle, that miracle.
Yeah,
And I always say you can't replace good maintenance, good filtration, good fuel, or plain common sense with an additive. You just can't. You've got to have it. However, you would be amazed, or maybe you wouldn't be, but a lot of people, how many people have bulk fuel tanks that they don't even filter? I had one guy tell me that we have filters on our equipment. Why in the world do we need to filter the fuel coming from our bulk tank? It's like,
Yeah.
well, because it's a whole lot easier to replace that filter and a lot less money than just
Yep.
plugging it on all the equipment, not to mention the potential downtime and everything else.
Oh
So
man.
people have a different way of looking at things. We're just offering an alternative view. Um,
Hmm.
Tate, I am really, really thankful to have you as somebody I can rely on and somebody I can come to and help you and your customers as well. And so I appreciate the partnership with you and looking forward to many years of helping each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. This has been great for me. I've learned so much about the additive world and the fuel world, and my customers are seeing the benefits from our relationship and having your knowledge at our disposal. And so it's just been tremendous. It's been really, really good experience.
You did the same for me. So we both kind of have our own niche and specialty areas, and so it's been great. And I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me. And amidst the kids in the background and the dog barking, how the dog got here, I don't know, but for whatever reason, he's here. So thank you again for your time, and we'll do this again. We'll talk about a different subject next time, I'm sure. And I appreciate it, Tate. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thanks,
All
guy.
right. Bye.
See ya.